Welcome you all to another episode of the Bade Seth Show. We at Bade Seth Ventures aim to develop strong sense of business finance ethics and of course guiding you through the journey and usually through experienced speakers such as Mr. Tushar Kansal. We are proud to have him. He's been running his own consultancy ventures. He has a VC firm and he's also running an investment firm based out of Singapore. Mr. Tushar has been active in the VC space, in the private equity space for quite some time now. He has been a part of Deloitte, for which I have been a part of as well. He has then gone out to found some startups, and which has given him a sweet exit. Now he is running his own investment firm. He has been doing this for a decade or so, and we'll be happy to have you, Tushar sir. It's a great pleasure to have you. And me personally, I really like the humble attitude you have. So if it's possible, just brief us through what made you change from Deloitte and then consulting and then through and creating your own venture, and how was your first deal like? Over to you.
Thank you, Harsh. Thank you so much. I always like addressing people who really want to learn venture capital. And my background, how it so happened that I did my engineering and I was a very voracious reader. I used to read 1 or 2 hours every day, newspaper or any book or something. And I realized that, those were the times, 1998, 99, when the dot-com boom was happening. And that time, I realized that one has to be either in technology or finance, because both these things, they gave the best salaries. And I did, I had a campus placement at Indorama Synthetics, Nagpur, and clearly I wasn't enjoying it. So I prepared for MBA, got my MBA finance done from Delhi University, got a campus placement in SBI Capital, Bombay Mergers and Acquisitions. While I was there, simultaneously, my family had started a small business in IIT entrance coaching, because I used to study from Vidya Mandir. That time Vidya Mandir was the amongst the first ones to offer IIT entrance coaching. So, I thought, why not do something on my own? I joined them. And for 6 years, we increased the business, 800 students and 3 centers. And, earned quite a lot. And it was very fulfilling kind of business. After Fiji, Akash, Narayana, and Chaitanya, they came to North Delhi, where we had our 3 centers. So we sold our center to Narayana. And once we sold our center to Narayana, I was like, should I start again? Should I start a business? Or, my dream was always technology or finance. And I was lucky because a partner in Deloitte, she took me in her team at a very good salary. And, these were pre 2008 times when the salaries were doubling every year. So, those were the times 2005, 6, 7, when everything was doubling. We had a global boom happening. So she took me on a very good salary, and I was like, man, I mean, I'm getting this much money, and I'm coming from business. After being in business for 6 years, I'm getting this salary. So I spent most of my time in Deloitte and Touche in learning, because I used to come at home and be on the dining table at 2 o'clock in the night, keep on reading, keep on asking questions, and because I had a gap from my MBA to Deloitte. And my family used to tell me, what has happened? Is the job so difficult? I said, I need to learn high finance, and Deloitte was the best. So, I had my mentors in the team, and they used to teach me and, guide me. And I did private equity assignments. I did due diligence. I did valuation. I did, term sheet. I just, whatever work used to come to me, I never said no. So, they were giving me 3, 4 assignments at one time. I said, okay, sure, I will do it. And that was the attitude. And they started putting me in front of clients because they thought that this guy has handled parents of 800 students every year. And, so, he can surely handle the clients. So I did that also. And then, salaries were booming and I wanted to be on the buy side. Buy side is venture capital side, who puts in the money. And Brand Capital, which is Times of India's venture arm, they poached me at double salary. So, I already had a good salary. It doubled in 1.5 years. So, of course, I left Deloitte. I joined Brand Capital. I was part of the team rather, which did 100 crore investments in 6 companies. And I learned term sheet. I learned how things look from a investor perspective. And, the particular atmosphere and culture in Brand Capital was investment plus media. So I actually ended up, Mr. Sameer Jain, who's the owner of, he had got a booklet made for strategy of a media company. And that was 478 pages. It was like A4 pages. And somebody in my team, he said, this guy keeps on reading, keeps on reading, keeps on learning. He just came to me one day, gave me a photostat copy of that 478 pages. And it had all the knowledge of uh, how Times of India group looks at media. So I was like amazed. And, it had muhavre in it, it had philosophy, it had shero shairi, and it had, that I'll give you an example. So if you open Times of India, you find a page 3 kind of slot also. If you open Times, so there are pictures of women. So everybody gets attracted because there is some skin show happening there. And these are usually page 3 people. So in that strategy booklet, the fact that you have to put women in a particular section on the website was mentioned very clearly, that we have to do it whether anybody else does it or not. So I learned all that. And then, my wife has always been a career investment banker. She was, she is the fastest, youngest vice president in the history of SBI Capital. And she was into project finance. And I used to listen a lot to her. And she said that, there is an opening in the Russian telecom company, MTS. And MTS had really deep pockets. Systema is the largest telecom company in Russia. So there is an opening for head of treasury, reporting to the CFO, Mr. Sergei Savchenko. And she said, Sergei is a great guy. And these guys are looking for someone who can handle their treasury, raise a lot of debt for them. So I had no idea about debt. I was coming from a consultant, Deloitte, and I was coming from a private equity. So I approached Ilya Kosulapov, who was the treasury guy there. Amazing guy. These Russians, they are amazing, So he just so friendly. They are so friendly all the time. And so, he took me in. I raised $2.5 billion for the company in 3 years. I raised 1,240 crores from Deutsche Bank, $500 million from China Development Bank, $850 million from Bank of China, 2,600 crores from a consortium led by SBI, 500 crores from Central Bank of India, 1,440 crores from ING Vysya Bank. And all these deals, they were mostly global. They were structured deals, global structure. So I learned debt. I learned structured financing. And, I was like, I have learned private equity. I have learned audit and due diligence. I have learned private equity. I have learned debt. Now I've handled treasury operations also. So I used to handle letter of credit, bank guarantees, investments of the company, forex transactions. And it is such a good exposure you can't imagine. And then I made the mistake of leaving the Russian job because, uh, I had already raised the whole debt for them. There was nothing more I could do for them. And I thought I'm not learning. So, I was actually well placed that they could have taken me in the board of directors very soon. But I quit that job because a company was offering me a CFO position, distribution logistics. It was owned by the $200 billion American PE fund Guggenheim Partners. And I thought, it's a good exposure. I've learned everything. Now it's the time to be a CFO. So I joined that. I call it a mistake because Sistema was the largest telecom company of Russia, and there were certain European standards of working there. But a private equity owned company has very different culture. There, money won't come in automatically. You have to raise funding. You have to go out, talk to investors, give them two-pager, then give them a pitch deck. And some analyst will come. He will ask for the model, and then Guggenheim will tell you every week we have two calls, and every call. So what happened in the last 2 days? What happened in the last 2 days? I mean, and you have to make it count because if nothing happened in the last 2 days, probably you were sleeping. So then, we were raising funding for them, but things were very tight because they had raised 550 crore of debt. And this debt was from L&T Infrastructure, from Punjab National Bank. They were 4 5 banks. And they put that money into land acquisition, and land acquisition was proceeding very slowly. So you had to pay interest, you had to pay salaries, but on the ground, the infrastructure construction wasn't happening because the land acquisition wasn't complete. So how do you manage cash flow? I mean, end of the day, you have to raise cash from somewhere, right? I mean, so we used to talk to funds. We did a M&A deal also at that point in time. We bought another logistics company, and so all that was very good exposure. But end of the day, the things were quite stuck there. So I thought what to do now, and I thought I have learned the entire gamut of finance. So I opened a startup with my cousin brother, with whom we used to have the education business. And I did that startup for 2 years. We were into consumer a B2B product for hair extensions, human hair extensions. And these 2 years, I was continuously in the marketing side. I was traveling to Africa, attending conferences, selling my product, and striking deals. After 2 years, I was like that, after having learned so much of finance, probably I thought that I'm not doing justice to my financial skill. So I, quit the board of directors there, and I'm still a investor in that company. And so I opened Consultancy Ventures. Consultancy Ventures, we have grown quite big. We are a 10-member team. We are closely networked with 350 global investors, venture capital funds, family offices, angel investors, and hedge funds. And we are closely networked. It took a lot of time to build those relationships. It took whining and dining, talking out, and everything. And I'm also a venture advisor with Loyal VC. That's a Canadian venture capital fund, which has invested in 160 companies across 35 countries. And I am also a venture partner with GSD Venture Studios. That's a venture studio based out of Silicon Valley. And I have, a lot of the story which I have told you is not exactly success, but whatever I learned from the failures, they have made me what I am today. So this is it about venture capital. I see that
I would like to ask you a question on this. Uh, exactly. So how do you start from the beginning? For example, I have an idea Now, can you give me 2 points on what should I do with that idea? If I know I need funds, and 2 points which I should not do, which are the two mistakes which every entrepreneur commits.
See, you have to have sector knowledge. Every sector has its dynamics. And if you don't have sector knowledge, you will spend money of the company, and you will spend a lot of time of the company in learning the things which are basic about that particular sector. So whatever sector you choose, you should have a very good, go to conferences, go to these events, talk to people, talk to those who have been in the same sector, and who are either maybe a GM of a company or maybe a CXO. Tell them, sir, we want to have a talk with you, and exchange visiting cards. And so sector knowledge is very important. For example, if today you said Paytm has become huge, and phone pay has become huge, and Google Pay has become huge, so it means that fintech is very strong in India. So does it mean that you can open a fintech company? I mean, you should really know that fintech has three areas within it, and within those three areas, two are doing well, and the insurance part is not doing well. So you should know that Policy Bazaar is the largest insurance online aggregator, and it has 53% market share, but still its turnover is 1200 crores, and it is in a loss. If you know these facts and figures, you will get to know what am I getting into while I'm opening an insurance company. If you are into payments, Paytm never made a mistake. They were always bullish, aggressive, bullish, never say negative. And so many people in life come to you who say all kinds of negative things. If you are not positive, how will you achieve? More than that, how will you create something if you are not positive? So, second part about is you need to have basic Excel sheet skills. So you should be able to draw a 5-year projection of the profit and loss. That this is my revenue. It adds up by selling these many things at a price point of this, and maybe separate price points for 3-4 products, and then if this I'm getting to achieve this, how much I have to spend. If I have to spend that much, so this is my cost and expenses. This is the EBITDA, earning before interest, taxation, depreciation, and amortization. And if this is my EBITDA, so if my EBITDA is negative, then for the 5 years, till how long is the EBITDA negative? Because end of the day, the P&L and some part of the balance sheet, they have an effect on the cash flows. And the way a company is managed is by cash flows. Dhanda, paisa kahan se aayega? From where will the money come and where will the money go? And what are the free cash flows available to my company? See, you set up a business, right? Office is there, salaries is there, the fixed expenditure is there. If the top line, if the revenue is not getting generated, you won't be able to run the show. So CXO every day, tells his board of directors, tells his team, buddy, get me the revenue. These are the targets. What have you achieved in the last 1 week? What have you achieved in the last 1 month? That is the way management is done globally, through the cash flow. So you should know Excel skills, you should know the sector, and you should have, there is a book which says that it's better to be a generalist instead of a specialist in today's times. Its book is called the book is Range, How Generalists Triumph in a specialized world. So basically, as a founder, you have to know bits and pieces about everything. So, you need to tackle the HR lady. So you should know at what conceptual level she is working. You need to tackle the marketing guys. So apart from the cash flow, you should know how they create the buzz about the brand in the market. If they are a shoe brand, maybe they are sponsoring a marathon. Then how much it costs to sponsor a marathon, how much time it takes to arrange such a kind of marathon. And so that will give you a sense about uh, how much time and money gets me what kind of a branding in the market, gets me what kind of a revenue jump. So naturally you will have to know a bit about that. You will have to know a bit about HR, technology. See, if you don't know what kind of technology goes in building a technological platform, then how will you manage those guys? See, or if you are taking work from a third party agency, then also you need to know what are the timelines, what is the cost. And we are living in a CI/CD world, continuous improvement, continuous development. So the app, if it is not updated, many people will just delete it. But if it is updated with new features and better, I remember when Twitter had seriously updated its, uh, its UI UX, and it was so amazing. And immediately the number of users of Twitter jumped. So you have to be a generalist. You should know a little bit about finance, marketing, product, technology, and don't forget the biggest skill which is not taught in our schools is team, how to manage a team. That is the biggest skill. I mean, if you can get people who are better than you, who are smarter than you, they will do the work for you. If you are a relationship guy, you can create such relationships that people give their best to you. So that is my answer to your question.
Right. So many times I've observed the founders, mostly first time founders, what they think, I know this industry pretty well. I know how to develop my technology. Anyone would fund me because every startup feels that his startup is the best and his startup is going to be the next unicorn, whether or not you back it up. So if you since you said about financial modeling and Excel stuff, and me coming from a financial background, I have a soft spot for that. So how important is it? For example, let's say I have a good connection with VC or a very big investor who is sure to invest in me. Should I invest any amount of time or money in building the financial model, or I should just go in and pitch to him? What would you suggest?
So why does a VC invest? A VC has access to money of limited partners, and the limited partners took a decision to give him their money because they had variety of investment options in front of them. They could have invested in stock markets, they could have invested in mutual funds, they could have invested in commodities, cryptocurrency, which is not a currency actually, or they could have invested in real estate. Now they said, no, this bloke is a smart bloke. We are giving him our money and he will get us our 20 to 30% internal rate of return, IRR. So you tell me something. If the if the fund guy has a pressure on his head because he needs to generate the IRR, so he will ask you 10,000 questions because every day 20 to 40 companies come to him. So he has to choose. It's and in spite of the fact that a huge amount of money, investment money, is available globally, but end of the day we are living in India where there are 1.3 billion people. So even in a small shop there is a line. So don't you think that in front of a VC you will have to convince him And if you have to convince him, then he will ask you things. I can tell you in brief what all a VC asks. Should I tell?
Yeah, sure. We can go ahead. Just a brief
Okay.
pointer on that.
Okay. On a brief basis, the first thing a VC asks you is what is the problem statement you are solving? That, what is the problem? Like, Uber solved the problem of taxis. It was very difficult to find taxis. And Big Basket solved the problem of getting your groceries home. And Paytm solved the problem of cashless transactions. And Zomato solved the problem of delivering quality food at your home. So everybody started with a problem statement. Second is, what is your solution? Does your solution involve uh, technology? Does your solution involve recruiting a lot of people? Is it operationally heavy? Like the hyper local players, they are all operationally heavy. They need thousands of people, boots on the ground. So that is second. What is your solution? The third thing the VC wants to know, which is the biggest thing for a VC, what is the team behind? Is it balanced? Like if it's a single founder, it is looked not so favorably by the VCs. So they like a balance in the team. They can be two founders, two co-founders, or three co-founders, and it is not necessary that all the people in that team should be co-founders. They can be on salary also. Or maybe they have ESOPs, employee stock option plans. So the team is the most important, because end of the day, the VC is betting on the team. He's betting his money on people. The product might be bad, the platform might be bad, but if the people are good, they will improve it, or they will pivot the business plan. Then market size. If you are addressing a very small market, naturally your revenue won't go very high. And if your revenue won't go very high, then the valuation won't go very high. And so the market size and opportunity is very important. Then the product. The product means what is the app you have created? What is the beauty product or men's grooming product? What have you created? Then the business model. How will you earn money from this product? The most important thing is business model. Then the traction. What have you done till now? How many customers? How much revenue? The traction. What is the on ground situation right now? Then the competitors. Who are your competitors? And these are very important so that the investor can understand your business model. And then if you are telling the names of your competitors, what are the competitive advantages which you have, the differentiator and the advantages? Then the financial projections. So naturally you have to know in the next 5 years, what is the business I will do if I get the VC money? Naturally the investor wants to know that. And then how much funds you are asking for, the ask. And then the use of funds. How will you utilize these funds once you raise them? And last, future roadmap. How many customers you will achieve in 1 year, 2 year, 3 years? What are the markets you'll be launching 6 months from now, 18 months from now? How many employees you will have in 1 year, 2 years? Whether you will be launching outside the country. So all those things. So these are the few points which you should definitely include while talking to an investor. And in this process, having a good pitch deck, having a good business plan, having a good valuation is very important. And many times people they don't uh, get mentors and advisors. So getting mentors and advisors is very crucial.
In fact, if me personally, I feel that is the number one problem which startups encounter. They don't get the mentor and advisors, one. And second, they don't put enough efforts in making the financial projections, because see, even if you're investing in stock markets, you would see the past performance and predictions, right? So why would not anyone with investing 1 CR, 2 CR or more than that, why would he not ask for that? Exactly.
Correct. Right.
So and having you on our panel as like, so I've made this community just so that people like you who have experience of decades can basically guide the future founders, future organizations. Yeah, you're not doing this right, you can do this well. So that is the main purpose of this community. And
Thank you so much, Harsh, for making this community. I see it is very lively, and a lot of people ask a lot of questions because they feel that you welcome uh, new thoughts, you welcome questions, you welcome inquisitiveness. So that is the way, and this community is that's why it's thriving.
right. Thank you. Shall we take some questions now?
Yeah, sure. We have some questions on the chat as well.
Yeah, I'll just
Uh,
narrate them for you.
sure.
Okay. So someone asks, what is the cost to be paid to investment bankers or consultants who get funds from angel or VCs?
Uh, there is no standard. I can only tell you the ballpark. So in India, 3% to 6%, 5%, 6%, 3 to 6% is the success fee, and upfront fees for the assignment where the consultant will put in his resources and everything. So that ranges from 50,000 to 5 lakhs. Depends, what quality you go after. And and in abroad, um the upfront fee ranges from uh, 10,000 US dollars to 60,000 US dollars. No, sorry. Uh, sorry. I made a mistake. Um from 1,500 US dollars to uh, around 5,000 US dollars, and 1,500 to 5,000 US dollars, and success fee globally in US and UK is between 6 to 10%. Mostly it is around 8%. Yeah.
We have someone. This moment. He says, he's giving a use case. If a company is paying with letter of credit, by destination, it's an import-export company, and a shipment delivery is due by 30 to 45 days, how does he manage the cash flow meanwhile? Like, how does he cover the wages and all if he's not funded and it's still a startup?
So there is LC discounting. So whatever LC you have, you can put it as collateral with the bank, with a third party bank, and they will take it as collateral and fund you. But they will charge a coupon. A coupon on LC is not very much. So, like in India, the interest rates are between 10 to 12%, 9%. But the LC, if you are discounting an LC, then the coupon is in the range of 6 7%. And the second option is you can get suppliers credit. If many cases, when the supplier is very strong, he has a very good rating, and the country in which he's sitting also has a very good rating. The country rating should be good and the supplier's rating should be good. Then he can get you a credit from his balance sheet. If you are a good customer, if you are a good customer for him, he can take a view that he's a very good customer for me, he pays my money regularly, so I will arrange funding for him for the working capital, which is suppliers credit. Similarly, there is buyers credit. Buyers credit is when you are utilizing your balance sheet with the bank to raise working capital till the time the money comes from the buyer. And then is LC discounting. And so these are the ways you can do it. I was a part of um, two huge LC discounting deals, and I was awarded by the chairman for that because actually we discounted the LC at a time when there was a lot of friction with the banks. We were facing a lot of problem from the bank, so that's why the chairman just awarded me on that.
Nice. So see, the questions would be keep on pouring since we have an expert who has decades of experience and they're getting it all. It'll be
Sure.
keep on pouring. So whenever you feel we need to skip or we need to hurry, we can do so accordingly.
Otherwise, whatever questions people have, they can also approach me on my LinkedIn after this event. So some questions we can cover right now, and some I can cover after the event. So if that works, I'm
Sure,
just putting my LinkedIn there. Yeah,
sure.
sure. Please.
So,
Yeah.
so whatever we can cover right now, we'll be doing that. And whenever you
Mhm.
feel like we should be calling it a day, we'll do that accordingly.
Sure, Harsh. Yeah.
So, some Captain Khalidas, seed funding stage, what makes market traction? A positive sale with 10% booking amount at MVP stage, is it a positive sale? He's asking basically what exactly a market traction. Is it a 10% booking amount or an actual sale?
See, you you see Ola, who's setting up a 2,400 crore scooter factory in Tamil Nadu, and he got free land from the Tamil Nadu government for that because it is world's largest electric scooter factory, and Tamil Nadu is very industrialized. They are India's number one state. He came out with booking of the scooter at 500 rupees. You can book a scooter for 500 rupees. And he immediately advertised, did a lot of public relation exercise, PR exercise. We got 1 lakh bookings. So my point is, as a serious watcher of economy and the sector, will I consider that 1 lakh number as a magic number? I won't. And you look at WeWork. WeWork takes best available real estate in a city, converts it into a 7-star facility, and gives that office space to people who don't have a job. Its IPO was coming at $45 billion. Then investment bankers said we can come out with the IPO at $8 billion from 45 to 8. And even after that, it didn't come. So the market knows what are the numbers you are talking about. So you said what makes market traction? If you are showing like, this, there was a company, it had a 25,000 rupees turnover. The guys were very good. They were from Kerala. They were already running a education technology company, which had 420 schools. 7 lakh parents were using the app. So they opened a new edtech company, and they didn't want to put much money there. So they did just 25,000 turnover, and they're looking for funding. Now this 25,000 turnover, it is like a chicken's bone in your, uh, because it is not zero turnover, and yet it is nothing. So it was very difficult for them to convince any investor that this turnover was serious. So my advice is uh, that see, a lot of founders, they have this problem that they need money to run the business, and yet the investor says, show me more business. So this is a permanent conundrum. So the way around this conundrum is to think of the market as an abundant market. There are huge investors. There are all types of investors. Housewife is an investor. IT guy is an investor. A person in a bank in Singapore and Hong Kong is an investor. Haldiram family is an investor. Uh, you know, uh, everybody is an investor. So if your business plan has the strength, and you are in the right sector at the right time, then you will get your funding. Definitely you will get your funding. Even sometimes people are early than the market. So India Mart came in and launched a B2B product, and it was many years after India Mart that Udaan came in and became a unicorn. And India Mart said, this guys became unicorn in 2 years, and I have been sitting for 15 years. So they came out with an IPO and increased their valuation. So, think of meaningful numbers like, 10% advance might not make much impact on the investor. So, more solid numbers probably would do. And more than the revenue, think in terms of operating profitability.
So since you're talking about being right place, right idea, and right team at the right time, there's a very good question here. Do people invest in the stage of idea? If yes, what will they look for in this case? And where can we find such people who fund in idea stage?
See, if you are looking for funding for idea stage, you can get 25 to 50 lakhs from the Indian government. But it will take more than 1 year for the paperwork. Then the second option is you can go to incubators and accelerators. So the most famous is 100x VC. And in Delhi, north side, we have good ones also. And so they will fund you between 15 to 25 lakhs. And then the third option is you go to an angel. Angel can fund you between 5 lakhs to 40, 50 lakhs. And if it is a dollar angel like Singapore or Hong Kong or Dubai, he can fund you 2.5 crores, 3 crores. The fourth option is family offices. They won't fund you on idea stage, but suppose the family office is of Times of India. They are into media space. So if you are like, you came to them with Ghana.com. So there is a lot of synergies between their original business and what you brought to them. So naturally, they will say that we would like to fund. Then the next thing is that, I'll give you an example. People sometimes come to me and they say, 10 Club got $40 million seed funding. $40 million seed funding. So they say, why do you talk about 50 lakhs, 25 lakhs? They got 300 crores. But, look at the background. The founders of 10 Club had already successfully exited from a company at a huge valuation. So they had already done it. So if somebody is taking a risk by putting his money in your hands, then he says that this guy has already done it, so his risk is very low. Secondly, what these guys did, 10 Club, they went to the sellers on Amazon.com and Flipkart.com and told them, we will buy your company and we will buy your brand and the company, and got them to sign letters saying that, yes, we want to sell our company to 10 Club. And they had $15 million worth of signed letters from the sellers of from the sellers of Amazon and Flipkart, which they showed to the investors. And that's how the investors said, 15 million ka business, 15 million business is already on the table. I will fund you. So, it's a very qualitative thing. If you if you are a successful entrepreneur, then people will fund you much easier, much easily. Like Jitendra Gupta of Jupiter, and uh, this guy, Free Charge, Kunal Shah, when he started Cred. So they got huge funding, 10 million, 15 million.
So basically, to get funds, to get money, you need to show that you can make money.
So you should see, idea stage is very risky, right? I mean, you anybody can get an idea. So Socrates got an idea in a bathroom tub. So the thing is that end of the day, everything in investment world is risk and return, greed and fear. So everything moves in cycles. The stock market moves in cycles. The economies move in cycles. So, so end of the day, you are at a particular time, at a particular place, at a particular situation. So, if you are able to convince the other person, then, his risk perception will be better, and you'll get your money.
Yeah. So although this question is from a student, what he's asking is, should we do job in startups to know about the structure before actually doing a startup? I guess this thing relates to your earlier idea, wherein you said you need to get domain knowledge, expertise of the sector you're trying to work.
See, you cannot foolproof your future. So by that, I'm just trying to humbly say that, uh, probably you can't uh, go out and join a company for marketing, then join a company for HR, then join a company for product, then join a company for finance, and then say, "मैंने PhD कर ली." I have done my PhD and now I'm ready to open a startup. It doesn't work that way. But definitely from a strategy of a career point of view, if you are wanting to be in a particular sector, there is no harm, as you rightly said, in joining a particular type of company and learning about it. You can also upskill and cross skill yourself by the number of courses in available on the internet, which are video based courses, which are very cheap, and nowadays all the content is there in the internet. Udemy, Unacademy, and you have Coursera, you have Khan Academy, you have Eruditus, you have, all the content is available there. So you can even, uh, fasten the process by simultaneously reading a lot about it, joining a course, and simultaneously working in a particular company. Yes, you can definitely do that.
Right. So we have few more questions, but I guess they're more on technical side, how to register a company, should you register a company and all that. So you can basically ask those questions in the community, and I'll be happy to answer that. Yeah. So although I'm not running a startup, honestly, I got some insights. Being a finance guy, I got some insights which I didn't know about. And that is the beauty of interacting with people who have done it, failed, done it again, and still doing it. Amazing to have you here.
Okay. Oh, okay. So no more questions. I thought you were.
We have some questions, but they relate to, for example, how do you register a company, and should you register a company?
Yeah.
Those are more generic questions, which I would skip it for now. Okay. But surely I would cover them. I'll just give a brief about them. Yes, you should register a company. Why? In fact, we've covered this in our previous session on why to form a company. It gives a sense of credibility. See, if you're running a one-man show or a two-man show with a normal partnership firm, and you ask for 1 CR funding, who will give me the guarantee as an investor that he won't run away with my money? And how can I claim it back? So that, be it equity, be it debt financing, or be it anything, if you're even dealing with a big customer or a competitor, you need to have, like, this is the basic you need to have.
Definitely. And, I will add something here, Harsh. There is a senior of mine from college. He has a $50 million hedge fund based out of Gurgaon. And this guy was earlier in Aditya Birla Private Equity. So he has the background. So for 3 years, he got recognition from the market. He got the award for generating the best returns of any hedge fund in India. So you can imagine the quality, He faces so many problems in raising his own fund because you have to go to Canada, you have to go to US, sit with the KKRs, Brookfields, Bravias, pension funds, CPIB, CDPQ, GIC of Singapore. You have to sit with them, explain them that I'm already doing a good job with $50 million. Give me $500 million, and these guys give you one meeting in 6 months, and in one meeting they don't decide. So this guy tells me, Tushar, I feel so bad. He also did his MBA from University of Delhi. So it is not a small place to do your MBA. But some other person who's from Stanford, MIT, Harvard, he just goes to his WhatsApp group, alumni group, he types, I need a meeting. And he gets 2 meetings in a month and he gets $100 million. So trust is a big thing why people give you your money. So whenever, and trust is built by all these things, alumni networks, you are part of a business network, and, you have done your schooling or education from some place, and you knew some person from your background. So, always keep in mind that trust is a huge factor why people give you their money. So you have to aim towards building that trust also.
Exactly.
So thank you so much, Harsh, and thank you so much all the others for coming today. I enjoyed this talk a lot, and hoping to see you on the other side, uh, and do some business together.
Right. It was wonderful to have you here, and the kind of humble gesture that you have, in fact, that pulls a lot of connections, eyeballs, and maybe trust towards you. So I
Trust.
really enjoyed that.
Thank you, Harsh. My good evening to all of you, and thank you, and have a good day. Thank you,
Sure.
Harsh.
Thank you so much.